Hello friends, welcome to the Trading Temple channel. Today we're going to analyze the Near protocol coin to see what it's doing in the short term and also take a look at the Bitcoin chart, which is very important for altcoins. So we need to do a quick analysis of Bitcoin's chart as well as the total market caps. What has happened recently is that in Near protocol, we had a very long-term downward trend line, and finally, after a long time, we managed to break through it and move upward. When this trend line was broken and the price went up, it was broken with very high volume. As I had mentioned before, I said that this volume was very good, but the next volume that formed was a very large red volume, even bigger than that green volume, and this made things a bit complicated. Also, it got close to a very long-term resistance, and there it formed a very bad candlestick called a shooting star. As I mentioned before, this type of candlestick usually, when it forms near a resistance, causes a pullback and can even lead to a reversal. And we talked about this pullback, saying that there are two types of pullbacks. We have one type of pullback that comes down slowly and another type that comes down sharply and quickly. The pullback we see here is one that has come down relatively gently. And what has this pullback done? This pullback has nicely performed a backtest right on this trend line. There's really nothing more perfect than this, that right now this backtest has happened on this trend line and it has beautifully held itself on this short-term support in the lower time frame as well. What's important right now is that the volumes that pulled the price down are very red, and the current candlestick that has formed is a very good candle. This candle is very good when it goes above this area and closes there. If the candle that has formed today can go up by the end of the day and break above this previous candle and close above them, it's very bullish and the price might even reach the $4 or $5 range in the coming week. Now we have to see what happens. What precisely happened during this particular pullback was that we came down and thoroughly tested the significant 50-day exponential moving average, and subsequently we experienced a very nice and strong bounce. Right now, what matters for the Near protocol is that if we go to a lower time frame, we can see in this section that there is a support level where the price came back to retest this support as well as this trend line and had a nice bounce just as we had predicted. It closed all the gaps it had created and now it has made a bounce. What matters now is that we don't fall back below this trend line. If the price comes back down like this and goes below this trend line, there's a strong chance we'll have a small backtest, and the price will most likely, about 80 to 90% probability, drop to lower levels. And what's important for Near protocol is that it doesn't lose this area, and also the last support that I really think needs to be maintained is that if it loses this red box as well, I can honestly say that Near protocol is pretty much done for, and the whole crypto market is done for too. So that was the analysis on Near protocol for now. Nothing special has happened so far. For now, it has held its trend line. The price is moving along the trend line. We have to see in the next few days if we can get a good bounce and break this resistance and head towards around $4.50, you could say. In this area, if we fill these gaps, on the weekly time frame, we have a lot of major resistance there, which will make things a bit complicated. We have to see how it will behave when it gets there. Because if the gap is filled here, meaning the price rises sharply, we have the 200-week moving average there. Here we have the 100-week moving average and the 50-week moving average. So in this area, Near protocol has a very tough job ahead. But if we enter an alt season, most likely all of these will be broken. We have to see what happens by next week. Let's take a quick look at the Bitcoin chart as well. Because as I mentioned before, when we want to analyze altcoins, it's better to analyze the Bitcoin chart as well and see what it's doing. Bitcoin's situation is a bit complicated. Why is Bitcoin's situation complicated? We talked about this support level almost a week ago and said that Bitcoin shouldn't lose this support. And if it does, the next support is in this area. This is the last important support that Bitcoin has. And if it breaks through here, the price could drop much further. And what's interesting is that right now on this support, the price has had a very good bounce, but the volume hasn't been very strong. As you can see, the red volumes have been much higher. Usually, in situations like this where the price drops sharply and creates various gaps, when the price reaches a support level, it has a small bounce and then comes to this area and continues its downward path. Now we have to see whether in the coming weeks, when Bitcoin's price reaches this area and most likely has a small pullback, it can manage to get back above this resistance. If it does get back above this resistance, that would be very good. The price might go higher, but if it can't break through here at this short-term resistance, it could get stuck like this and just fill the gaps, and the price might go lower. What's strange is that right now, if we look at the daily time frame, we can see that it's testing the 50-day and 100-day moving averages. Again, the price came down and is testing around here, both the 50-day moving average and the 100-day moving average, and it's a bit difficult for it here. That's why I say this is a very important resistance, and if Bitcoin can break through it, that's really good. Let's move on to the dominance of Bitcoin, Ethereum, and stablecoins, which I talked about before and said that if this drops, there's a strong chance we'll have an alt season. Just like what happened back in 2021, when the dominance of Bitcoin, Ethereum, Tether, and USDC, which are stablecoins, drops, the alt season begins. But in the current situation we're seeing, this chart has formed a head and shoulders pattern, and it would be very good if it breaks downwards. But right now, the price is a bit stuck here. It's making things a bit difficult. If in the next move the price goes lower, personally I think this dominance could move sharply to these levels in the next move. What's also important is that the total market caps of altcoins are all close to their all-time highs, and this could act as a catalyst. When these dominances drop, meaning the dominance of Bitcoin, Ethereum, and stablecoins all fall sharply, other altcoins and their total market caps could see their prices rise significantly. The total market caps that belong to altcoins. Of course, it's very important for it to come down, and if we take a look at Tether's dominance for a moment, as I mentioned before, it's currently broken through this trend line. Things have gotten a bit tricky because here we see a head and shoulders pattern, and it might go up. If it goes up and confirms that this head and shoulders is valid, it will make things much more difficult. But for now, as I said, this is a very strong resistance, and if it holds here, which I hope it does, and then goes down, Tether's dominance will be very good for altcoins in the coming week. These upcoming weeks as we approach October are very important, and we need to see what the crypto market does. We're in a very sensitive situation because all the total market caps are close to their all-time highs, and what happens in the coming week is extremely important. That was today's video about Near Protocol and the entire crypto market, where we talked about total market caps and Bitcoin. I'd appreciate it if you like and subscribe, and don't forget that trading is never 100% certain. Everything is tied to probability. And I'm not a financial advisor, and this is not financial advice. Until the next video, goodbye.